American reality TV show, The Voice. If you are, there is no need for any introduction, but for those who do not or have not watched it, it is a singing competition with a unique twist. The competition begins with what is called the blind auditions. Contestants come up to sing a song of their choice. While the viewers are able to see the contestants, coaches are only able to listen to their voices when picking out contestants. It was introduced to give confidence that contestants were picked based on their voice and that coaches were not biased against their physical appearance. The competition is also an attempt to give the right people opportunities based on real talent by introducing this more objective judging method. Even the entertainment industry and show business sees the wisdom of veiling certain sense organs in order to search for truth. It is our 7th week in preparation for Easter, and we are reflecting on the 6th sign out of the 7 signs of John's Gospel. Jesus performs a healing on a man born blind. In the course of the story, as it is told, apart from the man born blind and Jesus himself, there are various groups of characters that are introduced. The first group of characters introduced are the disciples. Upon seeing the blind man, they asked Jesus if it was the man's or his parents' sins that caused the man to be born blind. And Jesus' response was that it had nothing to do with sin, but so that the works of God may be manifested through him. The second group of characters are the Pharisees. The man who had his sight recovered told the Pharisees exactly what had happened. Jesus healed him by covering his eyes with mud mixed with his own spittle and sent him to wash it off in the pool of Siloam. The Pharisees would not accept this straightforward account. They harped on the fact that it was done during the Sabbath, which was forbidden by law. The law was something they used to hide behind and prop themselves up to give them a sense of importance. The third set of characters were the parents of the man born blind. They abandoned their son to fend for himself before the Pharisees. They were asked about their son and admitted that their son was born blind, but they refused to speak of his healing. They said he was old enough to speak for himself. And the gospel writer was clear enough to include that they had done this out of fear that they would be ostracized. Only the man born blind, who had nothing to lose, was able to accept Jesus. The man's blindness helped him to see Jesus as the Christ. The others, who all had their senses working for them, were prevented from acknowledging Jesus as the Messiah. Their senses were clouded their vision with prejudice and bias, as was the case of the disciples. The abilities and authority of the Pharisees puffed them up with pride. The senses of the parents kept them crippled in fear. Like with the TV show, The Voice, which I mentioned, veiling certain senses can help us see and acknowledge or obtain the truth more clearly. The central focus of the story is on Jesus, and the message is that Jesus is the light of the world. He explicitly states this just before he heals the blind man. Where no one from among his community gave hope, Jesus gives hope to the blind man. The blind man is symbolic of those who live in darkness, whom Jesus comes to bring light to. The contradiction is that upon healing the man, we realize that he is not the one who is in need of seeing. He recognizes and acknowledges Jesus. The others don't. They are the ones who are blind. Today, in the Catholic News, which is on sale, on page 2, there's a story of a visually impaired CJC student, Ian, who scored rather well for his A-levels. He had lost his sight in one eye when he was 8 years old, and due to glaucoma in 2013, he lost sight in his other eye. He was not born blind. Nevertheless, he struggled through depression and isolation from the community. But with the help of his friends in school, who always included him in social outings and led him around the school, with the help of his teachers who tutored him one-on-one, with the help of his supportive parents and siblings, and together with the use of technology, Ian found hope and a future beyond his visual impairment. While these people who surround him may not have the gift of healing to restore Ian's sight, they were still a source of light to Ian's life. Through Ian's struggle, Christ's real presence was made visible. Jesus presented himself as light to the man born blind by giving him hope, and the people who surrounded Ian were also a source of hope. Ian's community became the body of Christ. The man born blind lived his entire life in a hopeless situation, ostracized, because neither the people around him, his parents, or the Pharisees provided any kind of support and hope except Jesus. We may not be able to heal in the way that Jesus does, but we can still be light to others like Jesus by our response to our brothers and sisters. And our Lenten practices are a means to discipline or veil our senses so that fear, pride, or prejudice may not get the better of us and may allow truth to convict us and transform us. Let us kneel.